Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Friends, before going into the details of the war, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. Please support by subscribing and turning on the notification bell. We are a strong community. War in Ukraine, Day 237. Russia also takes aim at civilians indirectly. 30% of power stations destroyed. Sean Lavelle, Anna Akage, Bertrand Hager and Emma Albright. October 18, 2022 WORLDCRUNCH. Russian attacks have continued into Tuesday on Ukraine's energy and water facilities. Parts of Kyiv and other cities were left without power and water. In a video released on Twitter, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that 30% of Ukraine's power stations had been destroyed in the past 8 days, causing massive blackouts across the country. Zelensky noted that Moscow was continuing to target civilians both directly and indirectly through airstrikes aimed at energy supplies as winter approaches. It's another kind of Russian terrorist attacks, targeting energy and critical infrastructure, the Ukrainian president said. In the city of Zhytomyr, in northwest Ukraine, the mayor said there was no water and hospitals were working on backup power. The Troyeshina area on the left bank of Kyiv was also left without electricity and water. Infrastructure in the southern city of Zaporizhzhia was also hit. The power station there was supplied with backup power from a nearby coal-fired power plant after its main 750 kV power line was cut again. Russian training flight crashes into apartment. 13 killer. At least 13 people were killed after a Russian warplane crashed into an apartment building in the Russian port city of Yeysk. The Russian Defense Ministry said that the Su-34 bomber came down when one of its engines caught fire during takeoff for a training mission. In a prisoner swap, Russia has exchanged 108 Ukrainian women held as prisoners of war for 110 Russian captives held by Ukraine, according to officials on both sides. Of the Ukrainian women, 37 had been captured after surrendering at the siege of the Azovstal steel works in Mariupol last May. Most of the Russians that were freed are sailors from merchant ships held in Ukraine, while others include members of pro-Russian separatist military units from the Donbass in eastern Ukraine. Andriy Yermak, the Ukrainian presidency's chief of staff, confirmed on social media that 108 women had been released in the first all-female exchange, and added that they included mothers and daughters who had been held captive together. 2 more Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant officials kidnapped by Russian forces. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Europe's largest such facility, continues to be under the control of the Russian military, and the site of ongoing tensions and intrigue. On Tuesday, there was no word of the whereabouts of Oleg Kostyukov, the plant's head of the Information Technology Service, and Oleg Oshika, the Assistant Director General, after Russian forces arrested the 2 men. This comes a week after the Deputy Director General of Zaporizhzhia, Valery Martinyuk, was kidnapped. Ukraine's Energoatom believes that by doing so, Russia is trying to force the top management of the nuclear power plant to cooperate and connect the plant to the Russian energy network of Rosatom. U.S. Secretary Blinken. Ukraine war marks end of post-Cold War world. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that the war in Ukraine had brought the post-Cold War world to an end, with technology now at the heart of the competition between world powers. During a press conference at Stanford University, Blinken said, "We are at an inflection point. The post-Cold War world has come to an end, and there is an intense competition underway to shape what comes next. And at the heart of that competition is technology. Technology will in many ways retool our economies. It will reform our militaries. It will reshape the lives of people across the planet. And so it's profoundly a source of national strength." The U.S. Secretary of State also commented on report that Moscow is resorting to drones provided by Iran to hit targets across Ukraine, which he called a sign of increased desperation. 600-plus bodies exhumed so far as grim discoveries continue across Ukraine. In a nationwide TV address, Ukraine's Minister of Internal Affairs Denis Monastyrsky said that more than 600 bodies had already been exhumed in the Kharkiv region alone, as Ukrainian forces keep discovering mass graves left by the retreating Russian army in regained territories. Monastyrsky highlighted the challenges faced in the identification process, saying that despite the presence of mobile laboratories, this work could take weeks, maybe months. Last month, Ukraine forces found 447 bodies in a mass grave dug in a forest in Izium, in the Kharkiv region. Authorities continue to make similarly grim discoveries across Ukraine. In Lyman, in Donetsk region, troops have recovered the bodies of 5 children killed by Russian shelling. What is the Union State? This overlooked treaty from the mid-1990s reveals that Vladimir Putin's ambitions go far beyond Ukraine, with the aim of building a kind of USSR 2.0. Originally signed with Belarus, Putin's vision for the Union doesn't stop there, as he has been quietly but diligently building the formations of a new Russian empire for decades. And just in the past few weeks, Russia has announced that the occupied territories of Ukraine that have been annexed into Russia, as well as their armed militias, would also become part of the Union State. Read the Livy Bereg story here. ExxonMobil Corp exits Russia following expropriation. ExxonMobil Corp has left Russia after President Vladimir Putin expropriated its properties following 7 months of discussions over an orderly transfer of its 30% stake in a major oil project. The US-based energy company said it safely exited Russia after the government earlier this month terminated its interests in the Sakhalin-1 oil and gas project, the largest in the country. This comes after Putin seized Exxon shares earlier this month, in the oil production joint venture, and transferred them to a government-controlled company. Following Moscow's invasion of Ukraine last February, as well as Putin's constant threats of using nuclear weapons, BP, Total Energies, Equinor and Shell have all transferred properties to Russian partners or even left operations behind. Gallup poll. Most Ukrainians want to fight until victory. 70% of Ukrainians say they are resolved to keep fighting until their country defeats Russia, according to a new Gallup poll. The survey, conducted in early September, found that just 26% say they are in favor of negotiating to end the war with Russia as soon as possible. Here is how the poll, released on Tuesday, breaks down. 76% of Ukrainian men say their nation should continue the battle with Russia until the war is won, compared to 64% of women. 83% of those living in Ukraine's capital of Kyiv support continuing the fight until their nation wins the war, compared to 82% living in the western area, 78% living the central area, and 75% living in the south. 91% who back the war say they define victory as retaking all of the territories seized by Russia, including Crimea. The poll was conducted September 2-11 across all regions of Ukraine. Is the world facing systemic crisis? As the IMF meetings kick off this week, I read through the IMF's latest WEO and it really made for grim reading. Overall, though, I think it made a pretty good stab at describing the challenges facing the global economy and offered some sensible solutions: monetary policy tightening and targeted fiscal support, while not using energy price caps to the point of distorting markets. However, what I think it failed to do, for obvious reasons I guess, was put all these in the context of the really difficult geopolitical setting, important therein to assess whether the world will club together to ensure a sufficiently credible policy response so as to avert systemic crises. The IMF details policy responses, but will our leaders take the advice? It seems unlikely at this point in time. As the fund detailed, the world is facing multiple headwinds, from supply disruptions as we come out of COVID, the impact of China's zero-COVID tolerance policy on world growth, deglobalization hitting trade and spurring inflation, Russia's genocidal campaign against Ukraine and the global supply and now demand distortions that is causing, climate change, ESG-related costs, debt. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.